obviously another good win. Real good football team. We kind of knew going in. We felt going in this game was going to be obviously a different type of game than we played a week ago. And look, we did just enough things to come out of here with a win. They're very good on defense. We, despite being -2 in the turnovers, got the W, and we'll go from there. Any questions?
Sean, just defensively, I think there were 3 of 17 under.
Yeah. Look, I thought we controlled the line of scrimmage, really. I mean, if you want to know one thing, we controlled the line of scrimmage. We felt like there was a big advantage for us in this game, our front versus their offensive line.
Can you talk about the play that's run out and 25-yard scramble because of third downs before that in the 2 previous series?
Yeah, it was a nipple protection, which is kind of hard to describe, but it was a movement throw. And the coverage kind of, when that happens, if you're in zone, the zone moves with the move. And then he found a lane and did it with his feet. It's one of the strengths of a quarterback that can move. And I think that was one of the things that changed with their starter going out. We still have an accurate passer, but the plays that he can make with his feet aren't the same as the starter. So that was an important play.
John, you mentioned being down 0-2 on the turnover department. Had some stretches where things weren't quite going the way you wanted.
Yeah.
What did you just the resilience overall?
Listen, I think at halftime, it's funny, and your team grows and morphs and evolves into something. I don't think there was a person in that locker room that felt like we were losing this game. Now, we all felt like we needed to do certain things better. All right, but I think there was a lot of confidence coming into the second half.
Why was there a lot of confidence?
It's just what have I said before? It's once it repeats itself. You can't wish for confidence, right? And it's born out of what? Demonstrated ability. So you answered your own question.
How do you feel just about the resilience of making up for some key injured players, Surtain?
Yeah, that was big. This was the first time, Smythe comes to me with that computer and then we turn in the injuries. And this is the first time up till today, we've been fairly fortunate. And when you're turning in the defensive player of the year and it's hard to hit send. They're inactive, but it's still hard to hit that button. Anyway.
You had the block field goal, obviously, and then.
Yeah, we'll look at that on film. All of that without watching on tape. My concern was just the late subs. It was a little bit sloppy. In the kicking game, we'll get that cleaned up, or we'll find someone else that can do it.
You'll need to look at the film for this too. But
I will.
The stops in the at the goal line. You had 2 goal line stands. They were first and goal to line.
That was pretty big because look, when you get down there, it doesn't happen often, but like I've been involved in maybe 3. Pittsburgh was a game when you have a goal line stand. Now, sometimes they go for it on 4th down and then you take over. But when you have that on the 1-yard line, like that, the emotional swing that creates for your team and what it does to the team that, now they had the penalty then, but that was significant. And that gets back to what I said at the start, our front versus their front.
You mentioned Bo's legs. You passed up some opportunities with what Detroit means. Keep looking downfield. You wanted.
Listen, no, we don't talk about that. In other words, his eyes are within the progression, but you got to be careful. You don't tell that player too much when it comes to something like that. You know what I mean? Like, do you inhale or exhale when you backswing in golf? I don't want anyone to ask me that question. All right, but I think there are certainly design runs you saw. Again, we got to keep working with his clock because it gets quick. There's someone open, and there's some throws he's going to want, to correct. But that's a good problem to have. He doesn't take sacks.
Sean, how did Stroud going down just change what they'll do?
I don't think we changed defensively. Maybe some of your cage rush principles dissipate a little bit. We knew, Mills had a lot of experience, but how you rush him might be a little different than Stroud.
Coach R.J. Hardy, 5 catches, 51 yards. Was it something going into the game that you saw, or did what
Look,
allowed
last night we didn't do the school songs. We had every one of their family members call in on the video, and each one said, "Hey, this is your play. Go make it." And so he gets the video award. It's a pirate route. We got the right coverage. We set it up off of a halfback choice, and then all of a sudden take off. And we're just starting to see right in front of our eyes a guy that we felt strongly about. He can go, and he and Dobbins, that 1-2 combination is it's nice to have as a coach.
You've had so much success with running backs, especially in the passing game over the course of your career. As you see a young guy start to develop.
Well, when you get these quarters coverages and you get some of these defenses, I'm not saying they're doubling the outside receivers, but man, I remember 2 years ago here after that loss, and they sat in that same coverage, and I thought, man, we used to gut this coverage with the right, but you had to have the right people, and so we felt like it would be a game where RJ would have opportunities, and Evan, and sometimes now they played a little bit more single safety zone to support in the run game than we expected, but it's fantastic when you can have one of those interior players be really, really good in the passing game.
Starting out with Darren playing outside of the base and Chris and nickel, just what was it that you liked about Jade to put him in that?
It was a whole plan going in. You guys had a lot of great questions. Obviously, we weren't going to go into it. And we'll look at next week. We have base, we have dime, we have penny, we have nickel. All of them required decisions, and I thought Vance and those guys did a good job with the plan on how many snaps Greenlaw was going to play, how we were going to use Barron, all the above. It's difficult when you lose someone like that, and you lose a guy like Mims, and you sit there Wednesday night and you're like, holy cow. So it was great having Bandy up, and made a play or two for us, but it's part of our league.
next week is in 4 days, so what's the week look like?
Like it always does. Recovery tomorrow. Everything about tomorrow is recovery. Walk through. We've learned a little bit more over the years. I've told you the story. I think, in Dallas, you play every Thanksgiving Thursday, and our first year there with Bill, we were meeting, we went home and met tonight, and anyway, whatever we did, it wasn't right. I think we've learned a little bit more about the time from this game and how we have to get these guys mentally and physically recovered from it. And then, fortunately, we're playing at home.
Sean, you've reached the halfway point of the season.
It's impossible to have the halfway point because we're an odd number of games. We passed the halfway point. Yeah, all right. Go ahead, I'm kidding you.
How do you assess the progress of your team?
It is what it is. What's our record? I lost track. There you go. That's how I see it. It's pretty good.
Just talk about the comebacks. This is the fourth time in the last 5 games you've come back in the fourth quarter. Maybe you could just elaborate on this.
Yeah, this wasn't, it was a game that went back and forth, but the Giants game was a crazy comeback. This was a low-scoring game where, the thing that was troubling me a little bit was we went into it wanting to play as much of the game on their side of the field, and I felt in the kicking game we didn't do enough to leverage the field position battle. And defensively, fortunately, we held up. So if you really paid attention to the game, I felt like our drives were starting like to the far right or left, and their drives were starting more towards midfield. And fortunately, our defense took care of that.
First blush, everyone's saying, well, how was a guy in camp? Maybe people thought you weren't.
Well, if you recall, no one, that was never, I don't know. If you recalled how he played at the end of last year, he did a lot. He's probably got the best hands on the team. So there was never any, I mean, at least internally, we've been thrilled with his progress.
Were you as aggressive on defense?
I think our plan today was a little bit more coverage. Now, the plan's set on QB1. The numbers tell you, when you pressure or play man, the one thing that happens for a quarterback when that happens is it speeds up your decision making and you go right to here. When you mix the pressures with some sim pressures, that can become a little bit more problematic. So our plan was rushing coverage, and then obviously that can unfold a little bit with another quarterback in there, but overall it worked pretty well.
Did you like your unpassed mix at that point?
I can't even remember what it was like.
We got it at 4K.
Yeah, I get it. I like the win.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the tone you set from the beginning of the game with the fact that, touchdown allowed, I think they said on the broadcast, 13 straight game without an opening touchdown, and obviously it's all nice thing, it's Washington, yeah, but just even.
Well, there's a lot of these numbers that are important. Sack differential, first in the league. Scoring differential, first in the league. There's like 4 or 5 of these things that fourth quarter point differential, it would be a league record right now. And that they're playing for each other. No one wants to let anyone down. That's a good thing.